Paranormal Playback is a podcast where we recap the spooky and entertaining world that is paranormal reality TV. We are hosted by Acast. Warning: Paranormal Playback contains amusing stories about bros, hair gel, and we suspect Axe body spray, as well as dark stories, which may include suicide, pregnancy loss, abortion, sexual assault, and murder. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Okay, Frog. Thank you. It usually does stop. Like, it doesn't stay doing that all night, so hopefully it'll go to sleep shortly.
Okay.
Frog.
Are frogs nocturnal, though?
I don't know. I know these frogs I only hear at night.
So, nocturnal.
So I guess they're nocturnal. I think they eat, like, the bugs around that come out at night. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so many things have happened in such a short period of time between when we recorded yesterday and now recording today. But I'm excited to finally cover part 2 of season 29 of Ghost Adventures, episode 1, this iconic premiere of the Poltergeist house. How are you guys doing? You feel good? You ready to just dive right into it?
So ready.
Yeah. I feel like I dream in night vision now. I just am so embedded in the culture.
Yeah. I feel like I think I'm seeing things everywhere.
I know.
It's just like Jill said. If you believe it, it's Field of Dreams. If you built it, they will come. If you believe it, you will see it.
Yeah.
I've always just seen things, so that's
just par for the course.
Nothing new.
Yeah. Just a day in the life of Lauren.
Oh my God. Okay, well, so where we left off, we had just finished talking about the Shumash belief system, and we were about to move into the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had mentioned this in the last episode, but I know for me in this episode, there were so many times where I was not sure if what I was watching was the lockdown, and I was very confused. And when they finally said, okay, now we're going to have the lockdown, I was like, oh, thank God they still do a lockdown. They don't.
Yeah.
Actually lock themselves in. They just
and
say.
I do want to interrupt that because we were hating on the lockdown, but now we're missing the lockdown.
And now we miss it.
Now we miss the lockdown. We need.
Yeah. Where's my padlock?
We need the padlock. We need the official locking in.
Yeah. They still call it the lockdown though. Like that was the terminology that was used.
Yeah,
I know, but I need to physically. I need to physically see it though for it to
see them
be
bring
real.
their own padlock and drill it into a historic home.
I want to know that they cannot leave this house.
Yeah,
no matter
out of
how
any
much
of the doors
they want to.
I don't care if you need to figure out how to drill a padlock into a sliding glass screen door.
No. Do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Zak standing in the garage, which is where they set up the nerve center, and he is holding a Cabbage Patch doll. And he says, all right, it is now time to begin our lockdown investigation at a very iconic location, the original Poltergeist house.
Wait, is it a Cabbage Patch doll?
It was definitely a Cabbage Patch doll.
Oh my God.
What did you think it was?
I mean, I just thought it was a doll. I didn't realize. I'm going to look it up now.
Yeah, no, go look at it.
I think you were at the cusp of
No.
Lauren's like, you're too young.
Went to the creepy ass Cabbage Patch in Tennessee. I don't know where it was. I was a child, but where you literally I was small, so it felt gigantic, but it's where Cabbage Patch dolls are made, and they have this giant wall on the left side where they're in there,
it feels
cabbages.
Very Pigeon Forge type of.
Wait, have you been there?
I've been to Pigeon Forge. I've never been to the Cabbage Patch field.
If anybody else knows what I'm talking about, my mom would know where it is. Obviously, she took me there. But it's just this giant building, and it looks like there are hundreds of little dolls on in a fake little patch and you pick one. So I've been to like the official Cabbage Patch.
So, but you should recognize.
I know. That's why I'm shocked I guess I just didn't think it would be a Cabbage Patch doll in the movie.
No,
I just didn't connect it.
That's why I was so thrown off, because so this doll was not in the movie.
Yes, it was.
He says it is.
She holds it. Heather O'Rourke is the one who holds it. That's why he has it.
It was a museum plug for Zak.
Well, okay. Hold on one second.
She holds it in the movie.
No, and I know she's holding a doll in the movie.
No, it's the same one.
Is it? Because that was what confused me.
And he obtains it and has it in his museum.
Yeah.
From the actual movie.
Yeah.
Where's the picture?
So it's the actual one from the movie.
No.
That's what he says.
Yes.
No. I just pulled up the picture. I'm telling you right now. Hold on. She is holding a different doll when she is sitting on the steps. What he said is that the doll he owns was actually Heather O'Rourke's doll that she had at her house. And that's why her mom signed a certificate saying that. This is why we were saying that this gets very
this is
like, it gets super confusing, because we're mixing things that happened in a movie with the things that happened in real life. And so it's very like intermingled. There is a photo of her sitting on those steps, the bricks outside of the house, and she's holding a doll with blonde hair, but it is not a Cabbage Patch doll.
Oh, that's misleading the way he made that sound.
Yes, it is. So anyway, so it was Heather O'Rourke's doll that he got from her mom after she died, and he said it was in her mother's estate, and that the mom signed like a certificate of authenticity, basically saying this was Heather's doll.
That feels a little weird. No? Like it made sense to me when it was the movie doll, but it's just like her doll.
Because she died.
This right. Like there's so many things where I'm like, wait, you're just making like all these weird connections.
Yeah, that's weird.
But he doesn't explain it immediately. He doesn't tell us this at first. He stands there for a while talking, just with a doll in his arms. I was like, why is he holding this weird doll? Like, what is he doing? And it also had like a 90s like butterfly clip in its hair. I don't know if you noticed that. I love Zak's pun here. He says, we need to dig deeper and find out if that hole that was dug in the backyard and placed with real skeletons might have opened this house up to some type of ancient curse or something.
You know, as a fellow pun lover, and I truly love a pun.
He could have done better with making the pun, but it was still there.
It's his delivery. He makes it just like dry, but he doesn't come across like, I don't think that's his humor is dry, but he just reads it as if it's normal.
This is how it should have been said. It should have been, we need to find out if that hole that was dug in the backyard and placed with real skeletons might have opened this house up to some type of ancient curse. Let's dig deeper.
Yeah. Like
that would have been the great pun.
On the pun.
Do you think there's writers on the show?
Yeah, because it's scripted.
No, I know, but I'm saying like we're not giving Zak, like we're criticizing Zak, but there's probably a writer on the show that really we need to be.
Yeah.
Ready? They're here. Okay. So he finally addressed the doll. And like we said, this was the doll that was owned and played with by Heather O'Rourke from the Poltergeist films, which is so confusing because he's saying she is from the Poltergeist films.
Very misleading.
Very misleading. Yes, I agree.
It's just weird now. I wish I'd known that watching it. It would have just even changed my perception even more.
Yeah. He says, by no means are we saying that the curse had anything to do with the death of Heather or any of the other actors and actresses in the films.
Yeah, that's literally what he's saying.
But that's literally what they said. That was the whole setup. The whole setup was, here's all the people who died, which is why we believe that this curse exists. Like, without all the deaths, then where is the curse? How is the film cursed? Other than maybe I think like some activity that happened on the set. It was just such a weird thing for him to say. I was like, that is exactly what you've been saying this whole time. He says he just wants to know if the curse had something to do with the activity that they experienced today and possibly with the previous family. So this is just him like backtracking, I guess.
Yeah.
He said he wants to take the doll and place it in what would have been Heather O'Rourke's bedroom in the film. So that's the room that he wants to place it in. Jay then shows us baby monitors, and he says they are going to leave one in that room and one in the nerve center so that at any moment they could communicate with the spirits. They are leaving it as an open line of communication.
This was so stupid to me. Not stupid because of the tech, monitor, but just it felt lazy to me. Using the baby monitor rather than just being in the room.
Well, I think sometimes I understand not being in there because I think that it scares ghosts off, like being in there.
I think not only could it scare the ghosts off, I also think that it could be argued that they did certain things if they were present in the room. If they're not in there, then you can't say that they did them. So I kind of get why they would want to leave the space as empty as possible to see what happened in there.
Yeah, like having a quiet space.
I feel like them not being in there makes it more likely that they did something.
But Melanie.
No, I'm serious because in the edit you can change the screen, you know, if they're in there, I can see if he gets up and pulls something or blows something, you know? So I just prefer it when they're in there. It's more entertaining to me. This felt boring to watch.
I guess it was jarring for you.
It was. They were in there.
From season, okay, so just Mel, just a reminder that Mel went from season 1 to season 29. So it's a very stark difference between the two. Yeah.
And I was just getting excited about Aaron being in the rooms.
Right.
You know, it just, that's the kind of fun part. And I think that's the part that really pulls you in is, oh man, if I were in that situation, I'd be so scared too. You have that kind of connection. And now it's just like, oh, they're kind of doing what we're doing. I'm watching on a screen. They're watching on a screen.
I am curious to see if in the next episode they don't do it this way. Like, I'm curious to see how they do it for the rest of the season and if this was just specific to this house.
Well, and I think also too, going off of what Mel is saying, like it was kind of exciting having them like get scratched or feeling, you know, breath on their, you know, neck or just having that tactile aspect of like the ghost hunting.
Yeah.
You know, part of it. So like it did feel disconnected a little bit. So I do understand that part.
Yeah.
Like we were missing.
It just felt like they lost the sauce of the original show, which I mean, it's 29 seasons. Like, bravo for keeping it up this long, but it just wasn't.
I am curious how it progressed because
yeah.
I mean, and we will see that progression. So,
right.
I'm curious for the next episode 5, like you said, Lauren, where the nerve center comes in, but like OG nerve center.
Yeah.
Yes. Which will, episode 5 of season 1 will be the very first nerve center that they've ever had, which is exciting. Tune in after season 29 is over, whenever that is. So he says, we do know that there have been 3 deaths in this house from the last family. He finally addresses the doll and says, I did not bring this from home. Don't worry, Zach. We did not think that you were a little guy who plays with dolls. Like
the museum is your home, Zach.
Yeah, you did bring it from home. Anyway. Okay, so the room that they're leaving those baby monitors in is the same room that Tawny had said that she sensed a child's energy in. So we this is the room that they want to put the doll in. They put the baby monitors in there. They're trying to like channel like a child spirit or something. Billy also shows us an experiment that they set up near the Poltergeist TV. He says, and just as a reminder from the last episode, the Poltergeist TV is in the living room. The production team very much picked up this TV and put it in there.
It's not that. Is it the actual prop from the movie?
It's not the actual prop from the movie. It is just a TV that
similar
is of the time. Yes, it's very similar. So going into this experiment that Billy is setting up, Mel, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about this. He says, in this room, we have set up our isolated video loop experiment, which is a camera. It's projecting what it is seeing and then recording itself, creating this like isolated loop in the video.
I didn't understand that.
I didn't understand. I tried so hard.
Literally no clue.
Also, I didn't understand what was creating the green.
So I understand what a video loop is, right? Like if I were to,
it's like it's like a mirror. Like you're looking at a mirror like with a mirror behind you.
Right. Like if I were to share this screen that we're on right now, it would just like show it a million times.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that before. Like we've pulled up
by accident.
Like on a Zoom or something. Mm-hmm. And then you see like this like infinity of screens. That's basically what they're saying. But I'm just so confused.
Why at the wall?
Why are we shooting it at the wall? And then what is the spiritual, like, so what is the spirit? What are the spirits supposed to be doing? I don't know how on earth they think they can prove that that's something spiritual because I don't know where it's coming from. I couldn't wrap my head around like what they are seeing. And we do see something at one point, and I still was like, I don't know what this is or how it works. So I would love for them to actually like do, and maybe they have before done like a deep dive into how that works. And I just I'm not familiar with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I said I was so overwhelmed by all the tech that most of it, I think I blacked out and I have no idea what they said. Also, as we know, Billy's, no offense, man, but you really got to get better at, I don't know, brevity.
Yeah.
But I don't think they used this in their findings at all. I think we found out about it and never,
never showed it to Rachel at the end. It wasn't like something.
But they did have something happen.
Yeah, they did
later
see
on.
something.
So we'll go to it. Yeah.
So they're going to be watching from Nerve Center, and Jay says he'll be listening in to the static that's on the TV to see if anything comes through the speaker from the actual TV itself, just like the movie.
Yeah. I said, should I be listening for whispers?
I think so. Whispers or demons, we never know. So Zak is shouting into the house as they begin the investigation. And he says,
"There's my guy. There he is."
We are in a very interesting moment in time right now. We are deeply connected right now to the movie Poltergeist. We are in the home where they filmed a lot of the movie. We did receive some interesting activity as well right here at the bottom of these stairs. We don't know what spirits are here. And I'm like, you're shouting this into the house like you want to make sure that the spirits hear it, but it sounds like you're narrating for the TV show. I'm so confused. We don't know what spirits are here. We don't know if we're able to connect with any of those who were in the movie that are no longer here. But if we do, we want to be here for you.
I just want to clarify real quick because he says where they filmed a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
They filmed the exterior shots at that house. And then as far as interiors go, they filmed the kitchen, the family room, the dining room, and then the master bedroom.
But the child's room was not in the movie?
The child's room was not in the movie. Everything else was like on a set, which a lot of crazy shit happened on the set.
Okay. So that's interesting that the child's room was not involved, but then we're so focused on the child's room.
Yep.
I think that's because from what I gathered in the show, I think Zak was going into it trying to make this big connection when there was actually activity here. And I don't think he thought he was going to catch activity, but then they started catching stuff, and he realized that there was actually stuff going on with this like little kids room. And so they started focusing in more on it. But I mean, he also brought the Cabbage Patch doll to put it in that room when it wasn't in the movie. So that's weird.
Yeah. And I think that if anything, it to me doesn't actually have anything to do with the curse of the film. And if there is any sort of spiritual anything going on, it's the people who died in the house that were those family members, and he's blending it all together.
Yeah.
I
totally
agree. And because when the psychic came to, she was picking up on the people who died there.
Yeah.
Even though she did say that she felt a young spirit.
But I don't think anything that they sense or feel during this episode is an actor or actress from the show, like from the movie. Like there was
a clown.
I definitely don't think that it was people from the movie, though. Like that's the stretch.
Why there?
That's for the show. And then he goes on to say, like, he's talking to them, hoping that it's people from the movie. And he's like, and we know that you love being in front of the camera. I'm like, oh, dude, leave these people
projecting
alone.
Much there's that.
Yeah, exactly. So he runs up the stairs with the Cabbage Patch doll. He places the doll on a bookshelf, and he puts the baby monitor on the shelf right above it. Then they head back to Nerve Center, and they begin monitoring the cameras.
I will say, I did make a note of, he was much nicer to the spirits.
He was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I did think it was lame that they were using the monitors and he's not doing anything anymore.
Yeah. He's just speaking into the baby monitor. We know how you feel about the baby monitors, Mel.
Also, they don't tell you the time anymore.
No, they didn't tell us what time they started, and they didn't tell us what time it stopped.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing to me, which makes me think they're probably not there very long. I guess the time, if you don't do a lockdown officially, does the time matter?
No, I think, right, they used to show us the time because they were locked in, and it was the whole idea that they were there from dusk till dawn.
Yeah, but I liked knowing how long. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice knowing how long versus
I think this time around they definitely did the lockdown much later than they usually do, because there was both psychics were in the house in the dark. Unless they shot that on 2 different days, which is very possible.
That's
well,
true.
It's also October, so dark is like 4 p.m.
Yeah, that's also true. Okay, so he says into the baby monitor, we don't know exactly who or what or if anybody's in this house, but we know there's a lot of memories, and we know there was 3 deaths. Can anybody from the movie talk to us and replicate the scenes that you did in the film? Do you remember? You were talking to the spirits, and now it is reversed. You are the spirit. Can you talk to us?
At least he hasn't gotten better at narrations. In the best way. Like, they remain.
He's like, this is crazy. You are now the spirit. Come to us. They keep cutting to like the different cameras and nothing is happening, but they show like all 4 cameras running at the same time, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm part of the crew. Like, I'm sitting here watching them, like monitoring them.
Mm-hmm.
So Zak says, can you give us a message? We are your friends. We have love for you. We have respect for you. And I said, man, who is this Zak? The growth that he has growthed is beautiful.
The growth that he has growthed.
He is being so nice to these people.
I mean,
I'm so proud of him.
Nice to the people, mean to the DP.
To the one DP. Not mean, demanding. He was being demanding. Direct. Then he says, and this to me was like a little, not degrading, but like, he says, Carol Ann, are you there, Carol Ann? They're here. Could you move the door in the room? First of all, her name was Heather. Like, don't call her the name from the movie. I don't know. Like, that to me was just like, okay, stop. Let her rest in peace. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that part.
Yeah, it's even weirder that he brought her personal doll there.
And that, he brought her doll, but then he's not calling her by her
like
name.
exploiting her.
Yeah. I don't like that. I thought it was a movie prop. And does he have that on display in his museum?
Yes.
It's not even a haunted doll. It's just her doll.
It's just her. It's the doll of somebody who's died.
Nah, man.
It's a weird connection. So then we like get this weird teaser. Like we've said before, this was a 2-hour episode. So this must have been like the end of the first hour. And then we got a weird teaser for the second hour of the show. And I was like, why are they drawing this out so much? Right as the teaser happens, he thinks he hears something. And then they're like, dun, 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 stay tuned is basically what happens there. So he thinks he hears something. So now they cut back to them in the nerve center and they start playing back something. I heard something, but it was not very clear. Like it was unclear what it was.
Yeah.
Zak says it sounds like a little girl or something. And I do hear...
I don't think it was a monumental moment.
No, but this is when they pull out the Ovilus.
Yes.
They start hearing things and they're like, oh, let's pull out the Ovilus and see what is this?
like it, the Ovilus. The Ovilus is one of my favorite ghost hunting pieces of equipment.
Lauren, do you want to explain to Melanie what an Ovilus is? I know.
Here are my notes, by the way.
Okay.
Ooh, an Oculus. What the fuck is this? Their arms? What is this weird box?
I don't know how it actually works, but I know that I don't know the actual technology behind it.
So I have the like definition of it.
Okay.
Or like the description. It says an Ovilus is a paranormal investigation tool, specifically a variation of a spirit box.
It has like words in it, right?
That uses a preloaded dictionary to respond to questions with words instead of scanning radio frequencies like a traditional spirit box. It's designed to be used in paranormal investigations to potentially communicate with spirits or other entities. So it's similar to the scanning radio frequencies, but instead somehow they supposedly the energy like the box can sense which words the energy is saying.
Trying to pull. It's like trying to.
You know what my visual
extract words
of this Ovilus? I just imagine a ghost going through like a Rolodex of the dictionary.
Yeah,
a preloaded dictionary, and they're like
thumbing through.
No. Oh, damn it! They don't have a word for this. I guess this one. It seems like you're very limited to whatever that dictionary
You're very
is.
limited. And there's been episodes where they'll get certain words and then Zak will be like, oh, this is what it meant. And I'm like, there have been times where I'm like, I don't think that's what it meant. I think that was the closest word it could pick. And like that what it actually meant was something slightly different. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. But in this
also we're thinking that we're talking to an English speaking ghost.
Also that. So they get so excited at this point. Zak asks, who is making these noises? Is there somebody inside the house? How are these spirits making these noises?
Chris.
The Ovilus reads the word there, the THEIR, and then the word arms.
Yeah.
Zak excitedly screams, "Their arms!" What the fuck does that mean?
Oh, they're making the... I actually thought that made sounds with sense.
Their arms?
Yeah. They're using their arms to knock shit over.
But nothing was getting knocked over. And what they were hearing, they said that, like Zak said, he thought he was
like
hearing like a little
arms.
They're flapping. I was just like...
Fun fact, my arm fat won't exist next week because it'll be in my boobs. So these arms won't be a flapping after this.
Oh my God.
For those who don't know, I have breast cancer and I'm getting my implants on Tuesday, and they're using fat from my arms and belly.
Yes, I have
into my boobs.
I have had lipo on my arms. So Mel and I had a lovely conversation about removing the fat from your arms.
We did. But this one made sense to me, that their arms thing. I thought they were making the noises with their arms.
Like
hitting things.
When you fart, like with your armpit.
It is just... a little game I play with myself where I like to imagine it like an SNL skit and the ghosts, you know, are being comical. And they're just like, what do you mean? How are they making this sound? With their arms. Right. You fucking idiot.
Don't
like,
get me wrong. I understand that you could make sounds with your arms, but just based off of the sounds that they said they were hearing, I was like, Zach got so excited when it said their arms, and I was like, but does that actually make any sense to what you thought you heard?
Like, what if they're like this? Like, you know,
maybe they're just like the wacky waving inflatable balloon guy, you know,
they're just like
like making like windy noises.
I'm sorry for those who are listening on audio and not on YouTube. You can't see all of the fun things we're doing with our arms.
They should be able to hear the noises that we're making with our arms.
Yeah, true. Can you hear the noises we're making with our arms right now? I don't think we're going to hear anything.
It's real life EVP.
It's so ridiculous.
See whose mic made more sounds.
Jeez. So Zach tells us that at this exact moment, the full spectrum camera, which they also never explained, but a full spectrum camera,
I think sees all the
colors,
UVs. Yeah.
Is that the rainbow one?
No,
it's the purple
one. It's okay. There's many different cameras that they use.
I know. At this point, I literally said, this is so much tech. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
How many tools are we using?
I was so concerned for
Mel's
you.
drinking from the fire hydrant at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally, as I watched it, I was like, oh God, Mel's going to have a heart attack. There's so many pieces of equipment
I did know
here.
2 of them, though. I knew the Ovilus that I either wrote Oculus or it autocorrected to that, which is like
I initially thought he said Oculus, and then I was like, that's not the name of it. It's definitely Ovilus.
No,
but
that's trademarked.
Yes. But so at this exact moment, Zach tells us that the full spectrum camera rolling in the family room captures a strange mist anomaly. It looks like an orb shooting up from the floor and up to the ceiling. I wasn't super impressed by it. I was like, okay.
I just can't get on board with orbs.
I've said this before. I'm weird about orbs. I don't know why.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from, but it did grow in size. So it wasn't like just a bug.
But it grew in size in a way where, like, if you were to shoot a flashlight at if you shoot it straight ahead, it's going to show one way. But then if you shoot it, like, on the ceiling, it'll be longer. Like, that's kind of
what it wasn't a flashlight, though.
No, I know it wasn't. I'm just saying that the way it grew reminded me of, like, the light from a flashlight.
But what would it have been, though?
I don't know.
Dust, because this lady just is moving in, and they're moving out.
Dust shoot that quickly, like through the air?
Does dust move rapidly?
Yeah.
It can. It depends on what it is. And dust you're pointing about it getting larger in size. That's just perspective. It's getting closer. Whatever it is getting closer to the camera. And
it didn't look like
not that
to me. I've just always struggled with orbs because I feel like it's so hard to debunk what it could be unless you're in, like, a completely dark room that, like, there's no light source at all. Like, I think that's why I struggle with it, because I'm like, well, there's windows, and it's just so hard for me to know whether or not, like, the light could have bounced off of something and, like, I don't know, like, done something weird.
Yeah.
But it very well could have been an orb. I will give you that. So in addition to the words, their arms, Zach then asks, can you give us the name of whose arms are being used to make the noises?
Okay, I thought that was a weird question.
This part just made me laugh.
Don't you think that was a weird question?
Yes.
Whose arms?
Yes. So then they get the words Chris aggression. So Aaron is like, you asked for a name and you just got a name. Zach says, Chris aggression. And then the Ovilus says, wrong. My theory is
Chris
that
did it aggressively. What this
maybe, but then I don't know why it said wrong. My theory for why it said wrong is that it was trying to say Chris and a last name, and the closest thing to the last name was the word aggression. So when he said Chris Aggression, the obvious was like, no, you're wrong, because that wasn't the right name. That was my theory.
I thought it was like Chris is pissed.
It could be, but then I just don't know why it said wrong.
You know, this limited dictionary that they put in this box.
Do we know the names of the
also that, like, could they not have told us the names of the people? Like, after that, this was a pretty big piece of information.
They definitely would have told us if it was Chris.
Right.
You know, they would have. He was like, this is privileged information that people died here. Had they guessed the name and it was Chris, they would have said that.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way they wouldn't have. So my guess is Chris
has no tie to this. Also, none of the actors from the movie were named Chris, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just felt like it was such a missed opportunity for them to at least be like, oh, we asked the family and nobody knows who Chris is, or something like that. So
it was just funny to me to see like the name Chris just doesn't evoke fear. You know?
Yeah.
You're like,
Chris sounds like an average Joe.
You know?
An average Chris.
that is one thing that I always wish that they would do, is kind of like look into.
Yeah.
Which is
investigate
kindred spirits. We really need to watch Kindred Spirits.
I love medium stuff too. Like that's one where, I mean, I believe in ghosts per se, but I like get really confused when it comes to mediums. I'm like, I don't know. You're hurting my brain. Oh, also, what is the difference between a medium and a psychic? Because, I mean, I thought I knew.
It's like a psychic medium.
Yeah,
so
because we've had a psychic
interchangeable,
and then we had a medium. You know, a medium is someone.
They called her a psychic medium. I think the difference is that a psychic supposedly is supposed to be able to predict the future or like predict things.
That's what
whereas a medium speaks to the dead. So a psychic medium is somebody who does both.
A medium is literally a vessel, was my interpretation. And a psychic, predicts, has like foresight.
I'm pretty sure that that's like the distinction.
So I guess for your psychic medium, you can do a little here, a little there.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit.
So
around.
Aaron, Billy, and Zak now enter the home and set up a UV laser grid in the kitchen along with a tri-field meter, more tech. While they are setting up, they capture another anomaly in the living room as they had seen the same anomaly.
I looked up what that is. It's an EMF reader.
A UV laser grid?
A tri-field meter?
The tri-field meter is the EMF reader.
Yeah. Oh, I wrote that. I said, I do not know what a tri-field meter is, but they are filming it and it has numbers on it. I'm wondering if it's similar to an EMF reader.
Yeah, I looked it up as an EMF reader.
Yeah.
I feel like they just keep it simple, stupid, kiss, like bring it down.
Mm-hmm. I also don't know, like, why do we need the tri-field if we already have an EMF reader? Like, is it supposed to be more accurate? Like, why
and then
go
up to the other one, the UV laser grid.
Yeah,
I think the UV laser grid, I think that might be like a motion sensor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder,
it's an ultraviolet motion sensor.
Okay.
Yes.
Because motion sensors are typically done with lasers. Well, that's not true.
So
Lasers.
So I guess the tri-field meter starts to spike, and they're trying to figure out why it went from 1.3 all of the sudden to 1.3 all of the sudden from like 0.2. Billy says that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so while they're saying all of this, Aaron just suddenly like walks away quickly.
Yeah.
He just like jets out of the room.
I wrote, Aaron's being all weird.
Okay. Mel, I just want you to know, Charlie knows this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing.
This happens.
This happens.
I was really fucking confused. Aaron's whole vibe this episode, I was like, this is not the Aaron I know.
Okay, so this is what this happens. So Aaron gets possessed.
Okay.
Aaron gets possessed, and then Zak gets like bouts of rage. So like
on brand.
These are just, they get like really, I think they're just like empaths. So they get like they're really sensitive to the energy inside the house. But like, it's always Zak gets like these bouts of rage, and then Aaron gets possessed. It's like happens every episode. It's really funny.
Okay.
So
also, I have to just briefly bring up, because we're talking about the EMF reader. Yes. They have their phones. They're like using their phones to capture things. Does that not?
But it wasn't going off when they. But I don't know if the phones are near them.
I'm genuinely just asking. Well, they're using their phones to record shit. I was very surprised that they were using their phones in the investigation at all.
They did make a point to say that the really old TV gives off EMF.
He did say that.
He said that like it's more likely that they're going to pick stuff up near the TV because of how old it is, which made me then wonder if maybe like smartphones of today don't have as much radiation coming off of them or something, or electromagnetic, whatever. Because they've never said it about
we would have
before.
To look that up.
Zak then's like, he says he doesn't feel good, and he starts shouting into the house, "Open the doorways, open the gateways, open everything, let our two worlds collide."
Which, when he did that, I was like, that's kind of scary, because Charlie, you know this. They've had entities follow them home.
Oh.
Don't just invite anything to come join.
Because that's a real thing.
Yeah, that's why you bless the Ouija board before and after.
Yes, exactly. He continues on.
Honestly, you should have known Ouija boards. Is what I've learned from scary films.
No, yeah, never use a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Nope.
He continues on. "I know members of the cast are gone, and a lot of people blame a curse. Is there truth to that?" Now, Zak says that as of right now, they're headed upstairs. They are hearing noises up there from the nerve center. So I guess they still continued to hear noises upstairs when they were like walking around in the house and stuff. Jay says he's no longer hearing any sounds once they get up there, which is weird. Zak says, "Whoa, this is weird. I feel like I was just about to cry out of nowhere." He asks if he can go into the children's room alone. Billy says yeah, but then Aaron joined him in there.
I got really confused by that. I was like,
I thought he wanted to be by himself. It's his buddy. Aaron was like, "I'm not going to let you go alone, man. I'm here for you." Aaron pulls out the Polterpod ITC device, which is just a spirit box. Lauren, you said that you thought he made the name up, and I don't know. It did say Polterpod on the device itself, but I don't know if maybe that's Polterpod. Like. Do you think Zak owns his own like equipment or something?
We need to come up with our own line of equipment, but like make it really cute.
Yeah.
There's such a branding opportunity in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if Zak owns the brand Polterpod or something. Because it was weird. I was like, isn't that just a spirit box? I don't know.
But make it like pink or something. Like we need to like make
pink
it
and
like
purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I did green. Right. Aaron is being all weird. It feels fake. Is Aaron a medium now?
It did feel fake.
I was just like, what is happening? But they teased evidence. Do we go through that? That pissed me off.
They did. Yes, I kind of skipped over it. But yeah, they did say that they saw something in the window. I skipped over it because even when they go over it later on,
it's not that exciting.
It was interesting.
It felt very Ryan Seacrest. And after the next commercial break, you'll find out who won American Idol. You know, I was annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Just show me now. Just show me now.
Right. Like, why do we have to wait? So Aaron says, "Who wants to talk to us? What's your name?" They capture what clearly sounds like a man's voice saying something that's hard to make out. And Zak says he thinks that it's somebody speaking in a Native American language.
It actually does sound like it's, in that type of language.
I couldn't tell with the first thing that was said, but then there were a few other things that were said that were like unintelligible. And it sounded to me like a Native American man's voice. Very much. So Aaron continues, who wants to talk to us? What's your name? Zak whips out the APFD processor along with the SV7 Pro.
So I looked this up. They're all just spirit boxes.
Yes, they're all spirit boxes. And for some reason, they had the APFD processor attached to the SB7, and I think maybe the APFD is kind of like an Ovilus.
This is probably a product placement thing for them. And that's why they have to say all these.
That's why they keep pulling all the different equipment out. It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're it's given to them.
Right. As they try to talk into these things, the SV7 suddenly just flatlines. And I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
I've never seen that either.
I was like, that's so strange. Why would that even happen? Like, unless something was blocking the signal. So, Mel, just so you understand, like, it's quickly channeling through radio frequencies.
Out of the air.
Out of the air. So I'm like, what would make it flatline unless something was completely like if there was like a blocker or something that was preventing the signal.
Like lead.
Like lead, yeah, exactly.
Like a lead box. Or am I just thinking of like Superman shit? Is that a thing? Does lead block?
I have not a clue. Maybe it was kryptonite. The baby monitor then makes a beep like it's a walkie-talkie, which was strange. And then they pan over to Aaron, and Aaron is sitting there in the rocking chair, leaning forward with his eyes closed. They start asking him if he's okay, and he's not saying anything. Then he says,
oh my gosh, this is so funny.
Dude, I just put a mint in my mouth when that thing started flatlining, and all I could taste was dirt.
I wish he actually just stopped talking after I put a mint in my mouth.
Uh-huh.
Like, I wish it was just like he just blacked out and because he put a mint in his mouth. That's all I needed to hear from him.
That he said, I basically felt like I was being buried. It was the weirdest thing. Okay.
Yeah. This was very weird for me, so I don't know if my take is...
You got you were taken out of the moment with Aaron's acting.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I was so I didn't know it was an Aaron thing, so I was like, what? And who was and I was thinking no one was buried alive.
Right.
So I don't know why that would be.
I mean, then again, those people lived on that land for 13,000 years. There could have been somebody there who had been buried alive.
You know what? There may have been a T-Rex buried in that exact spot.
You never know.
I mean, it was a burial ground.
Could have been a burial ground.
Right. So Zak says, hi, can you please talk to us? And then they get nothing. This is just the part that gets me really upset. It's when we feel things and we're hearing things. We're using this right now, this ITC device, and then nobody wants to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron says, let me hold it. And as soon as he places it in Aaron's hand, we hear a little girl's voice over the APFD processor. So clearly they just didn't want to talk to Zak.
Yeah.
You know that upset.
I know that probably just like pissed him off so much. She's like, why did they start talking when Aaron got it? Zak says, except for what they believe to be a Native American voice, they have only captured these faint girls' voices. They hear a girl voice suddenly say, Daddy. Daddy. Zak says, is there a little girl there? And then there's a man's voice that says, no. And then someone else says, she left. Right? Creepy. Someone else says she left, but that person's voice kind of sounded like an older woman to me who says she left. And then the little girl voice comes back and Zak says that she called him daddy, which I was like, that is so not accurate. She just says daddy. I'm like, why did you have to say, oh, she was calling me daddy? Like he wanted that connection to the little girl's spirit. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Maybe it's just this little ghost family living in this room and they just tapped in and the little girl was like, daddy. And then
Zak's
that
like,
was her ghost daddy and then her ghost mommy. And then like they're just hearing.
Zak's like, listen, little girl, I'm your daddy now. Ridiculous. Okay. So they head back to the nerve center. Zak says that they're going to switch things up, that he doesn't feel good, and he says he doesn't know why. Then he starts speaking into the baby monitor. He says, "We heard somebody here in the little kids' room, and we heard your voice, and you saw our reaction. I'm sorry if I'm not in the best of moods right now. I am just not feeling that great, I think, physically. This happens when you get older. You know, you just don't feel good for stupid reasons. And we're getting older. You know, I'm getting older. I've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes things hurt, you know, and things affect my asthma and stuff like that, you know, and everybody's gonna make fun of me for this."
I think that maybe Zak needs a therapist.
I was like, what is happening right now? What is he talking about?
Aaron fucking loses it.
Aaron cannot stop laughing at him. The guys are like, "Zak, are you having a mentee B right now?" Like, they're like, "Are you having a mental breakdown? What is happening? Are you okay?"
100 PM NTB.
It was definitely a mentee B. Aaron says, "Give him a cupcake," and starts cackling. And then Zak starts laughing as well. And he's like, "I guess I am." To be clear, I know we poke fun at Zak, but we are not making fun of Zak for getting older or for having asthma, as Melanie and I both have asthma. But the point is, like, we're not making fun of people who have asthma, and we're not making fun of him for getting older by any means. So I hope he understands that, like, nobody is making fun of you for that. And if they are, that's just mean. Like, we can't control that we're getting older. I am turning 40 this year, and I'm very sensitive about it. Okay.
Yeah, man, going through menopause at 34.
Yeah. We're all going through things, Zak.
It hurts. Things just hurt.
Aaron cannot stop laughing at Zak. He says, "That was great. That was on TV." And then he mimics Zak and he says, "I'm getting older, goddammit." Zak says sometimes it feels like they're the only ones that listen, talking about the spirits. So now he grabs
therapy.
Yeah, go to therapy. There's really therapists also listen. They
really
do
good therapists,
mm-hmm.
probably out there in Vegas.
Right. Like, I wouldn't trust social media to be the people that you're confiding in or that you want to listen to you. So Zak speaks into the baby monitor again. We don't know if you lived in this house before, or you're connected to this movie that we all watched and that we're scared of. I have the clown. Why is he telling them this? I have the clown that was in the bedroom with the little boy, and I'm a huge fan of this movie. Guys, look, we're alive right now, but we're gonna be on the other side someday too. Zak says, "Can you move the doll?" Billy wants to use the frequency generator, which uses a physical coil to emit frequencies that can stimulate emotions.
Which I don't, how?
Exactly.
Well, if I poke you with a coil, Lauren, I bet you'd be annoyed. That's an emotion.
So I do get this. Okay, I understand it now. Sorry, I had to reread it. So different frequencies can so this is something that they study in music. Like, different frequencies or sounds can elicit different emotions. So like
calm.
An 808 drum is supposed to elicit I think it's like sexual feelings or something. Like, there's certain beats and stuff that can basically make people feel enraged. So I definitely understand what they're talking about with this.
Yeah.
So he says, "As we are getting ready to activate the device, watch how the isolated video loop begins moving and undulating. Then this large black mass moves through it, causing the central image to also move." This is what we were saying before, where they're saying that something happened in this isolated video loop, but because I cannot wrap my head around what could be moving or what that shape would have actually been, we're just seeing the infinity loop of it. It was very confusing to me.
My interpretation of this, which I did not get in the first go, as we understand, it all went over my head. but after reading it again, it sounds like the visual version of an EMF. Right? So it's capturing video and then playing it back on the wall so that we can, if the video can pick up on.
So if something walks in front of it?
When you're originally recording, it's playing it back so you can see the paranormal activity in the playback.
I really want to understand this. So I'm like, I might do some research because it's so confusing to me.
Yeah.
Well, we will just have to ask the internet.
Yeah, we're going to
ask shadow people
or the
on
shadow
TikTok.
people. Yeah,
let us know how this thing works. What is it called?
Sorry, hold on. Where did it go?
Something generator.
The isolated video loop.
Oh.
No, what we're talking about the frequency generator, and then we're also talking about the isolated video loop. So if you understand how an isolated video loop, not the loop itself, I understand what the loop is. I understand the video is being projected on the wall, and
I understand
doing
each
the
of those
infinity
words
loop.
individually. Isolated, I get.
But
video,
where's the video being pulled from?
The video is filming I thought it was filming the TV and then projecting that onto the wall.
Yeah, I thought it was like a super meta thing.
Oh, it was
so
recording the TV and then projecting it onto the wall.
Yeah. So what I want, if you all can explain to me, what is the spirit component? Like, help me understand how the spirits are utilizing this tool. I understand it with the EMF. I understand it with the spirit box. I am not understanding it with the isolated video.
And this is not the stick people, right?
No, this is not
SLS.
the stick people.
SLS. Okay. God,
so now they play around with this frequency generator. Zak says, all right, what I want to do now is shoot a frequency of 150 hertz, and anger is said to have a vibrational frequency of 150 hertz, which is associated with contraction. So
I don't really know what contraction would mean.
I'm not sure. I also took these notes frantically because it was so long and I was trying to take my notes before we had to record.
Like I said earlier, this episode was a lot of what I call word salad.
Yeah.
Or just tossing things around and without a whole lot of meaning behind them. And it's just confusing.
Well, you did get introduced to a lot of new things.
Contrition?
Maybe that's what it was. Contrition.
I feel like I wrote down contraction too, though.
Oh, well. It's not important, is it?
Well, contrition would be the state of feeling remorseful or penitent.
Not anger.
Which is the opposite of anger.
Yeah. So he says, we're going to emit that vibrational frequency through the glass table, just like Jay said. The glass will also resonate at the frequency at a larger vibration, and we're going to see if it can affect anything or stimulate anything from portals to manifestations to our ITC experiments. Again, like Mel said, word salad.
Wouldn't a larger vibration be a different frequency?
You're asking these questions. I don't know what the difference is between the vibration of glass versus 150 hertz coming out of a generator. I don't know. Anyway, Billy wants
Maybe there's just like some refraction or something. I don't know.
Okay, so they turn on the frequency generator and we hear a low humming. And then they see a long black orb reach up into the central loop image, and it appears to extract the yellow part. This is why I don't understand this thing. Like this, we're talking about the loop, the video loop.
I think I fell asleep during this part.
Like, what are they talking about? They said,
"Oh, it's like really creepy." Like, is it in the TV? Is it in the TV or is it on the wall?
No, it was projecting on the wall. But
no. I'm saying, but like, where is the spirit? Is the spirit in the TV?
Right.
Or is it on the wall?
It's hard to tell what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
It says that.
I don't remember this part.
They say that it appears to extract the yellow part from the top, like the yolk from an egg.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron says it's like an egg dripping its yolk down the fucking stairs or something. where'd the stairs come into this? Or is it just because the loop looks like stairs?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, because the loop is like stair-stepped.
Yeah. So now Zak sprints towards the stairs and says, I don't know why, guys, but I need to go upstairs to that room again.
So much possession.
So many people get possessed. We hear a sound that sounds like a girl or a little kid yelling or playing. It sounds like multiple voices talking or something. And I thought of it like kind of like if you drive past a playground and you kind of hear like kids in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it sounded like. Downstairs, Billy and Aaron don't hear those voices, but their equipment starts acting strange. And Billy says, hey, Aaron, why is your UV light doing that? The UV light flashed on and it flashed off. So Aaron's UV light is flashing and going a little crazy. Zak tells them how he felt like for 5 seconds he could hear some kind of chattering. He says it was like a quick tear in the spirit world. Like they just peeled it open real quick. So now Zak decides to attach the SV7 spirit box from to the old TV to see if it can amplify the spirit's energy source. As they attach it to the TV static starts blaring loudly. This shocks them, and Zak literally falls on the floor as everyone else moves away from the TV.
Not only does he fall on the floor, but then he starts kicking his leg.
Yes,
into the
he's
air.
like kicking it like as if he's like, get away from me. So dramatic.
So funny.
So is this literally him putting basically a radio device up to a staticky TV and then being surprised that it was loud static?
Yeah. For the most part. That's kind of what happened. So now Zak puts his hand on the SV7 to help like give it extra energy, I guess.
And this is the stick thing?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Not yet. They never actually showed us.
No, you never see it. You only see it
when they talk to Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know he was touching the TV, so I was thinking maybe this was that part.
When you do the stick thing, it's like far back. Like you don't put it against anything.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a laser like scanning.
Yeah,
the room
I guess
thing.
I thought maybe it was like a two-parter thing because Zak was touching the TV when they were doing the scan.
When they saw the
it's like it's just
when
like
they saw the
room.
stick figure person, when they were showing it to Rachel, as a reminder, Rachel is the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
When they were showing it to her, he was like doing something with the TV.
So, but it was far back. That the SLS was like far
back.
back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Xbox Connect was way back there.
Exactly. So Zak puts his hand on the SV7 and says, can we hear you? We hear a voice say, hello. Zak says, can you talk to us? And then they hear a voice say, Zak. They got very excited. It said Zak! It said Zak! Zak says, yes, that is me. Can you tell me your name? What are you doing in this house? Tell me the name of the movie that was filmed here. They then get a voice that says, important. Then they capture a voice that they can't understand what it is saying, so they think it might be a native language. Hearing what the voice says, I definitely thought it sounded like a native person. I think a few of these things sounded like it possibly was somebody who was native.
Mm-hmm.
Zak says, where are you right now? We see the UV light flash again. This time I actually thought it was like lightning. It was so bright and fast. I was like, oh, is it like storming outside? And then they told us it was the UV light. I was like, oh, weird. At the same time, we hear another voice say hello again. But it sounded like the same voice that said important sounded like the same voice that said that hello. And it sounded like that older
Every time
woman.
it says hello, they all say hello. Like they all get excited.
Yes.
They're all like responding back. They're like, hello, hello.
They're so excited. Zak ponders who these spirits that are suddenly greeting them could be. I still think that all of this, I think it's the people who died in the home. And then I think possibly a Native American and maybe a little girl who like lived there before, I don't know, at another time, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a demon pretending to be a little girl.
Yeah.
Also that. So then we have this like weird little scene where Aaron and Jay head out back to do a ceremony to the Native Americans. Jay said,
appreciate that though.
It was respectful.
Yeah.
But it also kind of just felt like filler.
No, I mean, I appreciate them trying to not just like charge, like come in there and like
exploit.
Yeah.
Exploit. I actually appreciated them doing that.
So we cut to Aaron and Jay as they head out back to do a ceremony to the Native Americans. Jay says, to the Shumash spirits and any other Native Americans that were here first. Zak says this was their land, and before we end our investigation, we want to give an offering of peace and respect. Zak says this investigation was absolutely incredible. As he says it, he and Billy stop. This was like too funny. Like they thought they were wrapping up the episode, and then they stop dead in their tracks and start freaking out because the Cabbage Patch doll fell off of the bookshelf. And I was like, oh my God. Now,
if you actually look at it though, it kind of like falls. It didn't just like fall. It like kind of, it like
rolled.
Fell like, yeah, it like rolled over. So
right. Like one of my thoughts was like, okay, what if there was like a fishing line on the foot of the doll? But then I'm like, no, but because the head fell forward.
Yeah, it would have fallen backwards if it were.
Right? Like if it was being pulled,
it
would have fallen back. So I don't know. Mel, you had the theory that there was a vibrator in it.
I did. I do think it's pretty sus that the doll that Zak brought and that they were like, doll moved, and then like had glowy, well, we'll get to the glowy eyes.
I was going to say, and that might support your theory.
Yeah. I
feel
like you could put a radio controlled race car in there and then go, and then it'll drive forward off the.
I actually have a theory for the little glowing
Char's got a theory.
Light.
Char's got a theory.
We don't need another theme song. We only have Mel theories, okay?
Yeah, but
I do.
Mel's got a theory though.
I have a debunk for that little light, but we'll get to that.
Oh.
So they go running up the stairs, of course, because they're freaking out and they cannot believe that the doll finally fell. They go into the children's room to investigate what happened. They're like giddy little kids with excitement that they actually caught it on camera. Zak says, we did not have high expectations for this house. And this was probably this is like what I absolutely loved. And this to me was like such growth from Zak. And it made me excited when he said it. We did not have high expectations for this house being this active. And we also capture the doll falling on this X camera as well. So he acknowledges that like they went into it not knowing that they were going to capture that much.
Mm-hmm.
I said the way it falls, it almost looks like something yanked on its right foot that was dangling a little bit. But I also thought like if it was a little kid ghost, it was like reaching up to get it.
Ah, yeah.
It could have like pulled on the foot and then it fell. I don't know.
My question is why didn't they think that they were going to get much activity?
Oh, I don't. So I think it's because he
grasping at straws.
Yeah, he went into it with this like whole curse thing and the skeletons. And
because it wasn't really the house. It was this curse that was not really the house. It was.
Yeah, because no one really separate things that he was trying to weave into one thing that just got confusing.
Yeah, because I guess all the people that died that was connected to the movie didn't die there.
No, exactly. They didn't die there. Yeah. And as far as we could tell from all the activity they got, none of the activity seemed to be from people in the movie.
Yeah. No one ever like died on set. It was just the crew or the cast and the crew.
Yeah.
Crazy things happened to them.
And then I mean, to me, it seemed like it was people from the family that were causing all the activity.
And besides the dirt being inside the house, was there any other weird activity during the filming?
On this, not well.
Oh, on the
was
set?
Poltergeist 2 shot at this house as well?
No, and that's the other thing is 2 and 3. They say the curse goes across all 3. So I think there was maybe 1 or 2 exterior shots in the second one, but they take place in different locations. But it was the set that they said all these freakish things occurred.
Oh.
But 1 is where the pool scene and everything happened.
With the real skeletons.
Because I don't remember Poltergeist, to be perfectly honest, but if the whole plot of the first film was that they moved into a house that was on Native American soil and they wanted them off of it, it would be kind of silly if in the second one they were still living there, right?
Yeah. Well, and the whole ending was like that pool scene. Like the...
Yeah.
I gotta go back and rewatch that.
I know. Now I kind of want to watch Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to see, I have to remember like all of this stuff and see like what was actually shot in the house. Yeah. So they wrap up their investigation and they head back to Vegas to analyze their findings. Zak and the guys are now standing in, he explains that this is supposed to be like
inside the
TV. Like it's actually in the show.
Is that in the movies that they go in the TV?
I don't remember.
Because at first I was like, what is this Doctor Who TARDIS that we just entered? And why is the set what is that?
Yeah. No, I think this is his thing.
Well, but he said I thought so. And then when he brought the psychic back in,
he was
what
like,
does this look like?
Where am I? And she's like, we're inside the TV. And that made me think they went in the TV in the films, but I don't know.
Maybe they did in like the third one or something, and I never saw the third one.
It'd be a very 80s thing. It feels very 80s.
Yes.
Film for that to be a thing, but I cannot.
Didn't it also feel though like in the 90s or early 2000s, those music videos with like NSYNC or like Missy Elliott, where it was like they're in like a weird tube and like bouncing off the walls or whatever.
But it also reminded me of Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yes, that too. It reminded me of a handful of things.
Those decades were because we were approaching the millennium and Y2K and everything. We're very obsessed with future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Futurism.
Yeah. Like the metallic tracksuits and stuff.
And like space, the beyond and all that stuff. Yeah. So that
and everything looked the same.
Zak explains he wasn't sure what they were going to find, considering this was all based on a fictional movie, but that he felt like there was some truth to the story. He says that they validated that with the elders of the Shumash, and it made them realize that this curse could be very real. He goes on, for 1 second. I understand that he thinks the curse could be real because it has something to do with the Shumash, but what about just the spirits of the skeletons that were used on the set?
Yeah.
Why has nobody talked about like them potentially haunting?
Exactly.
Because they can't trace back any, there's no way to find information on who.
That's what all I kept thinking was like, you disrupted those specific people.
Yeah.
And brought them onto this set.
And they actually touched them.
Yeah.
But that person, the girl that was in that scene, didn't die.
True. They protected her.
She also didn't know, but
I'm surprised she didn't sue.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well,
the 80s. Women couldn't get a bank account by themselves until the mid-90s.
That's true. She wouldn't have been able to sue because she wouldn't.
Can you believe the director of the second movie was trying to get real skeletons? I'm like, did you not like?
I did feel a little less weirded out by that, knowing that it was a thing in Hollywood in general that they did in the 80s. I bet Indiana Jones probably has real skeletons.
That's true.
Let me look it up. I don't want to just like spread misinformation.
Fake news brought to you by Mel.
Some horror movies might have used real skeletons. Indy did not.
Indiana Jones didn't?
They used props.
Oh,
so good. Stephen learned.
So he goes on. Once we started digging into the history of the house, the family that lived there, and the 3 deaths, what's going on with the current owner. I don't think any of us expected the sensation that we felt when we walked inside that house. The activity started and it never ended, which is so true because what we've seen in season 1, like with the Riddle house, was that the activity happened really fast and then just stopped. Whereas this was like little sprinklings that were ongoing throughout the entire. We don't know how long because they didn't give us timestamps, but we would assume the entire evening, however long they were there.
Yeah.
I thought you would love this, Mel. He talks about all the scientific evidence they gathered.
Oh, yeah, I think I briefly brought this up yesterday. I just don't understand somebody who's inventing spiritual devices, how you gauge whether or not your device is successful.
Yeah. It's a great question.
How the hell how are you like, yeah,
well, that's why
this works, it's legit.
That's why it's technically considered pseudoscience.
Yeah, because there's no
how do we
control?
prove it?
You don't have a control for your experiment. There's no baseline to prove.
Right. And it's hard. You can't predict how and or when things will happen. So like you can't have the same reaction twice.
Yeah, you can't. Exactly.
So Zak says, what are we dealing with here? We are just as shocked as you are. They fly Jill, the psychic medium advisor, to Vegas.
Oh my God.
They flew her all the way there so that she could show him a photo on her phone.
Yeah, I will say it was kind of adorable when she was walking around. She was acting like she was in an amusement park, which she kind of was, if you will. She's in this like lit up.
I love Jill. She's so cute.
Space set.
Oh, also her reaction to the clown. We're about to get to the clown, but the way she reacts is just, it's priceless.
So much buildup, though.
Yeah.
Why didn't they bring the clown in the house?
See, exactly. Like, why?
Because it was a real prop. He didn't want to fuck it up, probably.
Yeah, probably. Like, why the Heather O'Rourke
doll? That's not the doll.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what? I think I looked up the clown. It's like almost $400,000. Hold on.
What?
Yeah.
Because it's supposedly actually possessed, right?
That's why it's expensive? Because it's haunted?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
$400,000?
Hold on.
For a creepy ass clown? I have to say, if somebody made me close my eyes and then let
$650,000.
Oh my God. For that clown.
That's why he didn't bring it on set.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't want to risk it.
Why is it that much? It's like the Jesus potato chip? Is it?
It's haunted. It's allegedly haunted.
And people will pay that kind of money for a haunted thing. I mean,
well, no. It's also, he paid that much for it because he says it was at the Hard Rock Cafe for like 25 years or something.
Because it was a film prop.
Because it's a film prop. So that's really why it's so expensive. It's because it was a prop from a film.
Yes, archive.
Yeah.
That's still like really
expensive. Anyway, so they fly Jill, the psychic medium advisor, to Vegas. And he says that she captured something while she visited them for the interview that she wanted to show him. So he, like we said, she gets there and he's like, what does this look like? We're inside right now. And she's like, it's a TV. And she knew exactly what it was. I had no idea. Jill says, I really wanted everybody to see this. She says her daughter took a photo of her standing near the TV, and in the photo, we see a projection of the TV over Jill's chest. I was trying to make sense of this. I was like, could this have been something weird that happened with like a refraction of the light in the camera lens from the TV?
This has happened to me before, where it's like been this like weird, I don't know. Right. I didn't get much of that. Like get much from it.
I did notice her photo seemed like a little hazy, and it also didn't look like she had a flash on. And the other, so Zak shows us other photos of them in front of the TV. And he's like, well, you can see like this is not happening in all these other photos, but I will say all those other photos had a flash on when they were taken. So I don't know.
So what are you getting at with the not having a flash on?
I think that it's potentially a refraction of light in the camera lens.
Okay.
Because
it looked like there was a monitor over there or something. But
I don't know.
I saw it and I was like, I don't know how that's.
And then Zak tried to imply that like because it was over her chest, it was like basically the spirit saying that it was channeling Jill. I was trying to make that connection. I was like, so they're saying that they want her to be the medium, the source for like their communication. I don't know. What did you think, Lauren?
I didn't get it. Like, I didn't get any paranormal anything from that. I just thought it was just like a weird whatever anomaly from the camera.
Yeah, I think also us working in creative and like on production and stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like we know a
weird
little bit
things
more
have happened
about
from
like
cameras.
Yeah, we've seen so many weird things happen.
Yeah.
Also Zak says he sees a face, and then Jill's like, they use an arrow to outline it, and then Jill's like, yeah, everybody says they see a face there. Did you guys see anything?
No.
I looked so closely and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
I always try to see the faces that they say, and I couldn't.
It was strange. I was like, I don't see anything like at all. I don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
I also said, so he says he has a surprise for her, and it's the clown. I'll spoiler alert, it is the clown. But I started laughing because I'm like, she's a psychic. Isn't it kind of weird to try to surprise a psychic? Like, wouldn't she know what you're about to surprise her with? I'm so curious. I'm like, did Jill know it was the clown?
You're not wrong.
I don't know. So Zak has her cover her eyes to show her the surprise. And when she opens her eyes to reveal the clown doll that he owns, she shrieks, "Oh my God!" Very excited.
Wait, was it an excited or like a, oh my God, you scared me, like with the clown?
Punch someone in the face if they just like put me in front of a creepy ass clown.
Yeah. And it is very creepy.
This gets real weird really fast, or just like creepy really fast, because then she immediately starts talking to the doll and she's like, the spirit is real inside this clown. The spirit can get in and out. She says, oh my God, you're real. I'm so curious to understand this a little bit better. Like, why would a spirit attach itself to a clown if it could get in and out and potentially go into another person? Like, why would it choose to stay in it?
Well, what about Annabelle?
Well, but also that.
She also was like, it's an actor.
Oh, yeah. Yes. She said that the spirit is telling her, I was told to act bad, to be bad. And then she said she could see an aura radiating from the clown.
I didn't hear that, but that's weird.
She was like, he was, which does that mean that every inanimate object has it confused me.
I don't know. So Zak says, he asks Jill if she thinks Poltergeist was cursed, and she says it had curses. Zak asks if objects from the film, particularly the clown, could these props have absorbed pieces of residual traces of that curse or the spirits from the people that played in the film. Jill says the clown presents itself as an actor. Zak thinks it's an actor from the film attached to the clown. So I guess we'll never know. I would be so curious to have them like actually maybe investigate the clown, or have like somebody try to find out more about like who could that be? Like, is there a name attached to it? Zak, call up Chip Coffee. See if he can tell you something. Okay. Now they meet with Rachel.
The homeowner.
Yes. They meet with Rachel, the homeowner. to show her the findings of what happened in her new home that she's about to go sleep in. They show her something that was caught
Love
on
that for her.
I know. I was like, oh, poor Rachel. They show something that was caught on the SLS camera, which is, like we said, that Connect thing, the Xbox thing. We see a stick figure, which, why didn't they show us this during the investigation? Like, wasn't that weird? I was like, this is pretty good evidence. And they didn't show it during the investigation.
Maybe they didn't have anybody monitoring it during the investigation.
Maybe.
Right. I felt like they had 3,000 people there. So that's.
Yeah.
But they never showed us a monitor that was for the SLS camera.
Yeah. They might have just had it set up in.
Yeah. We see a stick figure hovering above Zak that is free floating.
Which is so creepy.
Yeah.
Not Nick. Mel. It's not always a human. I've seen like these like demon like things like crawling on the ceiling or like it's not.
No. I don't see the ceiling crawl. So I'm not about that.
Down on all fours.
Yeah, it's like the SLS camera results are always the creepiest because like it's like sometimes like these like really long arms and like they're like spider crawly things. So they're not always like human forms. So like it could be like a dog or it could be like these like spider things like crawling up. It's always the creepiest thing. So
but I always find the SLS camera fascinating.
It is. It is always like one of the
Jay suggests that the figure was reaching down to touch Zak because Zak was touching the TV. So maybe it was trying to pull the static electricity or like the static energy from Zak. They show Rachel the orb that we were talking about earlier. Rachel made me laugh because they say, this is wild because it's coming from the ground and like we think the ground is haunted. And then Rachel's like, the whole house is on the ground, but thank you. I was like, oh, Rachel's funny.
Yeah.
So then they show her a weird light anomaly. So this is the thing they captured in the kitchen that I was like, what? Okay.
I didn't see. It's funny because like showing it to Rachel, I see it, but then I played it back originally. I didn't see that. So I'm like, did they hide it?
They didn't show it to us. They said when Billy was moving the camera, they caught something that they will show us later. Like they were teasing it.
Yeah, it was really annoying.
And then when they showed it,
something here,
it was just this
show
like
you yet.
Yeah. When they finally showed us, it was just this like little tiny light. And I get what they were saying. Like there was nothing like there was no traffic that could be seen from the backyard or anything like that. But I'm like, that's hard to say that that's evidence because you weren't monitoring that area. So who knows what that could have been? It could have been anything.
And there's like a national park behind them.
Right.
That whole mountain range, people could be camping. Right.
Also, I mean, they're doing a paranormal investigation. That could have been an alien. They weren't looking for aliens. So.
Also, it could always be an alien.
It could always be an alien.
It could have been another paranormal investigation back there.
Well, I was thinking, this show has a huge cult following.
Somebody was around
trying to check out the investigation, found out about it.
It was probably a PA that didn't know that they were in the camera range.
Truly, probably.
It was a PA or
he's like, oh shit.
Or it was Brian from the last episode.
Oh yeah.
Brian, the guy
neighbor.
The neighbor who was like a film student. Didn't he do the same? He snuck around the set when they were actually filming Poltergeist.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe he came back.
Exactly.
Billy suggests that the audio, when they play back like some of the EVPs that they captured, he suggests that the audio that they thought was saying hello initially might actually be saying help. I feel like they're so similar. It's so hard to know, and because none of those things are super clear. But they did say that the second one did sound like a hello. I do think the second one was clearer, but we don't know. And then we do see more Polaroids, and there's one where there is a light anomaly that wraps around Zak in one of the photos, or as they lovingly refer to them as ectoplasms. They show Rachel the doll falling over and try to figure out if it just fell due to gravity. Then they see a small light that is in the doll's hair that slowly fades and disappears. There was, and I don't know if the camera had been flipped, because sometimes this happens, but if you watch in the scene when Zak is holding the doll, there is a shiny silver butterfly clip in the doll's hair. And I noticed it because I used to have butterfly clips like that when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, that looks like the clips I used to have. Then I don't know why the light would have shown up and then faded, because there was nothing in there. But it is possible that something was reflecting off of that butterfly clip. So it was like, they got very excited about it. And I was like, oh, but what if it's the butterfly clip? I don't know. So that was my little debunk theory there. So the show ends. And Zak says a bunch of stuff, but the line that really stuck with me was his last line, which was, "My childhood fear is more real now than ever before." And that is the first episode of season 29 of Ghost Adventures. So I think we all know where we stand, but haunted or hoax?
I say haunted.
I say, okay, so I don't think the question is haunted or hoaxed. I think the question is haunted, cursed, or hoax. Because they were investigating a curse. Do we think it was cursed?
I don't think it was cursed. I think it's haunted. I mean, and I think it was slightly, I think it was like 30% haunted.
There was,
I think it was, and I think it was haunted by the family that lived there.
Yeah, same.
I think it was confusing.
Mel has chosen confusion.
Yeah, the overall feeling that I got was.
Also, I think some of that stuff is just energy. Like, I don't even know if it's like a haunting. I think energy gets intertwined with the equipment that they use. I don't even know if any of that's just
like residual,
residual, or I don't know. I don't even know if it's like an anomaly. I don't know if it's a human form or anything. I think it's just sometimes it can just be forms of energy. You know, I don't know if it's even haunting. That black form that was going up towards the yoke or whatever, that could have just been some kind of weird energy form. Mm-hmm. And it didn't necessarily mean it was a ghost.
Or like an intelligent spirit.
Spirit. It could have been just like whatever equipment they were using was extracting some weird energy out of the, atmosphere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There was definitely stuff going on there. And I think Mel, for you, for the confusion piece, it was just very layered and like convoluted, where it was like, it's this movie that has a curse, so now we think the house is cursed, and then there was also people who died in it, and all the people in the movie died. Could the people from the movie be at the? So all of that, plus all the additional equipment for Mel, I feel like it was a lot to take in.
Yeah. And the new Zak, and
yeah,
it was
Zak's
new,
calmer energy,
but also it was honestly kind of boring for like half of it.
I think it was a little boring because they were leaning so heavily into the fact that this was like the Poltergeist house. I feel like the episodes where it's like this supposedly famous place aren't as fun or exciting as like just a regular investigation.
Yeah.
And
I think also it makes a difference if we were to grow up on Poltergeist. We
might be huge fans and then be like, oh my God.
We didn't grow up on that. So I think it didn't really speak to us like it spoke to them. So
I think
it didn't resonate with us on that level.
What could they investigate that would like resonate with us?
Like if we did the craft something like that.
Yeah.
Or like the Practical Magic house.
Practical magic. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Hey, Zach. We've got some ideas for you. You want to give us a call. New spin-off show. It is just like Ghost Adventures, but it's with 3 ladies who pretend to be Aaron, Zach,
margaritas.
and
Yes. Oh my gosh. We need to do that.
We really
midnight margaritas.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, for you guys, this is a normal hour, hopefully, but for us, it is 1 o'clock in the morning. So we are going to head off to bed. But until next time, shadow people.
See you in the static. They're here.
Stop. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Paranormal Playback. Please share, subscribe, and review. If you want to engage with us on the socials, we are at Paranormal Playback. And if you would like to email us your own ghost story, add the words ghost story to the subject line and send it to paranormalplaybackpod@gmail.com. See you next time.